Well, hi Patrick. We're here to talk about the Payment Choice Alliance today and your decision to become an ambassador for the Payment Choice Alliance. Can you tell us a little bit about why you made that choice? What inspired you to become an ambassador?
It really resonated with me. One of the things was that came to me recently was my daughter, Sedana, who's 14 years old, and she has recently started a lash technician business. And what she loves more than anything else is counting her cash as it builds up. And I just thought to myself, like, if they got rid of cash, the incentive of her making her money, seeing the physical, denominations there in front of her would be no more. And so I thought to myself, that's one of the things that I think really empowers me to want to support the Payment Choice Alliance, amongst other things. But that's on a personal level, on a personal note. Seeing her face when she, has like a couple £100 in her drawer and she gets up and counts it literally every single day. And so, Daddy, I've got another appointment today. And it's just seeing the euphoria in her face, that really makes me happy. And anything that makes my children happy makes me happy.
Yeah, good. Do you think as well that as a young person, and with the way that the world is tending to move towards digital payments and contactless payments and so on, that it's important for children such as yours, and in Sedana's case particularly, that she's learning about money in a more thorough way? She's really getting to understand what money is about through her use of cash?
Yeah, that's a really good point, because, this next generation doesn't use cash as much. Everything is, digital currency, and everything is, online. No one really spends as much when it comes to the younger generation anyway. So it's nice to see the likes of my daughter and others who actually, respect cash, having physical cash in their hands and being able to spend it like that and use it.
And how important do you think cash is for a section of the population? I mean, the Payment Choice Alliance is obviously, we are campaigning for a Payment Choice Act. We believe firmly that cash should be part of everyone's payment choice, that we don't discourage contactless payments, digital payments, or however anyone wants to pay. But cash is important for a sector of the population. What do you think about that and how important it is for that section of the population?
Yeah, I totally agree. Cash is definitely, I think when you look at the demographics and you look at certain communities, especially the more depraved, they certainly rely on cash a lot more than everybody else, and taking it away would sort of basically cripple them, to be honest. I think when you take away the ability to use the physical cash, we're sort of going down a very dangerous rabbit hole, creating a dangerous precedent. Because if you rely too much on digital currency and imaginary, I like to call it imaginary currency, what happens when that's broken and it goes down and it's no longer available for a period of time? Then what do you do? Then all of a sudden everybody wants cash again, because they don't have an alternative. And it also gives too much power as well to those in power to control how and when we spend our money.
The move towards more digitisation in payments and so on is often seen as progress, but would you say, I mean, we're talking, I think, about the same thing, that is actually progress when we're having those things taken away from us, we're having those rights taken away from us? Do you have any more to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's in some ways there is progress, but I think we have to have a clear message, and that is to have both forms. Have cash. We still need cash. We rely on cash heavily still, as well as having the choice to use digital payments as well. We need both, and one isn't more important than the other, in my humble opinion.
And what can the government do to protect cash as a payment choice? We're aware there is a lot more press at the moment. We're getting good coverage in our quest to have cash accepted or as part of payment choice. But what can the government do you think, in order to protect the British public and enable their right to continue to use cash, and for cash to be accepted and deposited in banks and so on and so forth? What do you think the government can do?
Yeah, I mean, I hear that Spain they actually have an act that protects currency, protects their cash. I don't see why we can't go down the same road. And if I'm not mistaken, Ireland have actually tabled an act right now, and they're looking to introduce that. So I think the best thing the government could do is make it law and have an act, so that we can never get rid of cash.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're in support of a Payment Choice Act for the UK
100%,
people.
100%.
Yeah. The Payment Choice Alliance, as you know, recently commissioned a YouGov survey, and we asked a section of the British population how many of them still continue to use cash. In those survey findings, it was reported that just 3% of the population, or 3% of the people that were surveyed, don't use cash at all. How does that land for you? What do you take from that?
That's great news, and to be honest, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I would have, if I had to guess, I would have probably said maybe 10%, but the fact that it's literally just 3%, that just goes to show that the work that the Payment Choice Alliance are doing is very much needed.
And in that same survey that the Payment Choice Alliance commissioned, 71% of adults were in support of a payment choice law to give everyone the right to use their cash when and where they choose. How did that statistic also sit with you?
Same, really. I mean, it does make me happy to think that the majority of the population, a large chunk of the population, still wants cash. Because at the end of the day, I think the power is with the people, and what we want, hopefully, most of the time, we eventually do get. And the strength is in numbers, and people want cash. And so, with that in mind, the government needs to listen, and organisations like the Payment Choice Alliance need to be listened to, and we need to make sure that we keep cash alive and thriving.
And what do you think that people themselves can do in order to push this forwards? How do you think that people can act in order to make businesses and the rest of the public aware of the importance of cash?
I think the public have a really important part to play. I mean, my local Tesco's, for example, the self-service station has, I noticed in recent times, it's slowly filtered down to one till out of about 20 that takes cash, and that's just totally unacceptable. So I think people need to air their grievances and speak to the managers on shop floors, etc., and say that this is unacceptable, and who do we go to complain? It's important that we don't just allow these things to happen quietly, to the point eventually where there is no because it won't be long before that one cash station will be no more, and then all of the tills will be card only, and then who's if no one says anything, then who can you blame apart from ourselves for not standing up and voicing our opinions in the first place?
Yeah, and we see that move, don't we, to that's already excluding people, for example, when it comes to car parking. We see public car parks or paid for car parks where people simply, if they don't have a phone app, they can't park their car. Yeah. So again, what would you encourage the public to do when they're faced with that sort of exclusion?
Yeah, we have to speak up. We have to voice our grievances and make it be known, because not only is it, for many people, like, my mum, for example, I know she doesn't have any apps on her phone, and she has a very, basic phone. So how does she park, if she needs to pay for parking and there's only, you can only do it via app, So these are the things that we need to look at. It's not just, there's the older generation, there are the younger, there's lots of people that are going to be impacted by not having cash. And like I say, it's always the most vulnerable. So those who are maybe quite elderly, or those who are not so well off and struggling because of the economic crisis at the moment, these are the people that are going to be most affected when we don't have cash at our disposal.
And are there instances where you have come across your own experiences of difficulty using your cash?
So as an ambassador of the Payment Choice Alliance, I've made it my business to air my grievances, to complain, to ask for contact details of management and senior management so that I can complain whenever I go anywhere and I'm unable to use my cash.
And do you think that has that had an effect? Have you seen people sit up and take notice, or do you think it's going to be quite a hard slog to get this message across?
I must admit, I do feel like when I do air these grievances, because I'm not generally that type of person. I am quite a laid back and live and let live kind of person. But I do think that this is a, something that is very close to my heart, and I do genuinely believe in it. And so I have to, step out of my comfort zone and make my point. Let my voice be heard on these instances. And you can see sometimes people get a bit disgruntled with you, a little bit upset, not just at all levels, but they do think you're a little bit of a, like what's the problem? So, but yeah, I don't let it put me off or anything. I definitely will always and continue to air my grievances whenever I'm unable to use my cash.
Yeah, and I think if enough people do it, the message will get across.
Yes, I think so too, yeah.
If we were to lose cash, what would you say would be the main downsides?
I just think we need to be in a position where we have the choice to use cash or to use, digital payments. I think that there are a few negatives, having a society that only has digital payments. I think the obvious one is what happens when it goes down. What's the backup? There is none. You literally have to wait until it's back up again. And we do know that, online fraud, etc., is really is massive. I mean, we're talking about billions and billions of pounds and dollars are lost every year to online fraud. And, actually currency does sort of take away the opportunity for that, I also think that the footprint that you leave when you spend your money online or digitally, some people do like to remain anonymous. And, for some people, I don't want to be dramatic here, but for some people it's a matter of life or death. Think about women in domestic violence situations. They need to be able to spend money without anybody knowing where they are, for example. So, that situation, for example, would definitely, cash would be preferable, I would have thought, as opposed to using a card and leaving a footprint everywhere, And I'm sure there are other numerous scenarios where, using cash is a much safer option for people.
So Patrick, what is your final word on payment choice for the UK?
I believe everyone should be able to access financial services and have the choice of how they pay, be that using cash or be that using digital payments. We it's important that we have that choice and it's not taken away from us.